if you've taken like months between each book, which I have, and I keep telling myself I shouldn't do that. I don't think I was emotionally prepared to walk into this, but here we go. Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. We are going to be continuing some more series this week. So this has been an ongoing series, as you guys know, so I feel like we can just dive straight into it. But just to check the number of series I'm currently in the middle of, let's check my tracker quickly. Okay, yes, we are at 24 ongoing series. We have been slowly working our way down, but we're gonna read 3 more books to continue 3 more series in this video. I actually just started the song Rising last night, so this will be the first book we read in this vlog. This is the 3rd book in the Bone Season trilogy. Did I say trilogy? It's definitely not a trilogy. It is a series, a very long series of 7 books. There are 5 out so far, but there will be 7 total. And we have this like sci-fi fantasy world. It's like a fantasy world, but with sci-fi elements because we're really high tech and that just screams sci-fi to me. But in this world, we have clairvoyance and we have non-clairvoyance, like humans. So clairvoyance just, you know, they have a lot of like different various mind powers, but in this world clairvoyants are being hunted because the regular people, the people of Scion, think they are a threat, and obviously they don't want them around. Also, forgot to mention, this book takes place in future London in like the 2050s, which when you think of it is not actually that far off, which is a little bit terrifying. But we're in this sort of future alternate universe London where this has happened to our society. The clairvoyants in this world have actually formed this pretty like highly complex crime syndicate that works underground and kind of under the radar. They obviously, you know, they are a crime syndicate, so there's crime that happens within here. It's like organized crime, but at the same time, this syndicate is a good thing for clairvoyant people because they look out for each other. It's the only place, you know, they can really trust everyone and watch each other's backs. So our main character, Paige, is in this crime syndicate, but at the beginning of the Bone Season, the first book, she gets caught, taken in as a prisoner, and while she's a prisoner, she discovers there is so much going on behind the scenes of the government and Scion on what they're doing, and it's a lot darker and crazier and more evil than anyone even thought. So that is the first book, and we just kind of, you know, I feel like I can't really tell you what this 3rd book is about without giving away what happens in the first 2 books, but we are just continuing the series. Overall, I have enjoyed the series so far. I don't think it's one of my favorite series of all time, but it is so enjoyable to read. Samantha Shannon has created such an intricate world. The story is fun to follow, and there are just so many characters. I read about 25 pages of this last night, just like started it in bed, and I'm excited to dive back into this world. I feel like with these books in particular, the worlds are so intricate and there are so many people you have to remember and names and terms of things and locations that it kind of takes a little while to like fully get back into them, especially if you've taken like months between each book, which I have, and I keep telling myself I shouldn't do that because things do end up like leaving my mind, like details of things that happened. But anyways, what's done is done. We're getting back into the Bone Season world with the song Rising. So yeah, I'm gonna read this one. A day it's been, my friends. So I basically spent the entire day at the park, which was absolutely lovely. But the funny thing sometimes about reading in a park is that you don't actually get that much reading done. You're just more there for the vibes, and it's just like so nice to be outside. But I didn't actually read that much. I mean, to be fair, I was there with Huffy, so it's not like I was just there by myself. I probably would have gotten more reading done if I was just like, you know, me, myself, and I, and had no one to talk to and no one to hang out with. But it was just so lovely being outside, so that was absolutely wonderful. But we are back home now, so I am in the mood to just like get cozy and have more like cozy reading vibes now. And while we're here, I just also really want to talk to you about the most comfy sheets I have ever owned. So I do want to thank Gakoda for sponsoring today's video. Gakoda is the brand that my sheets are from, and they're just so wonderfully soft and cozy. It's actually funny because Huffy and I this past year have really been trying to invest in our sleep, like trying to figure out the best ways to actually get the best rest that you can, because your quality of sleep can affect so many things in your life. It can affect things like immune repair, obviously energy recovery. It's just so important all around. And aside from having, you know, the best optimal bedding that you can have, I've also tried to incorporate different habits into my nighttime routine. Like for example, I don't go on my phone at least like an hour before I go to sleep. And so what I do is I read in bed for an hour every single night, and it's absolutely wonderful. Helps my sleep so much. And something else that can actually also help your sleep is taking a warm shower 90 minutes before you sleep. So that brings me back to Gakoda and my new Gakoda sheets. Gakoda does really care about comfort as well as safety. They have this wonderfully soft fabric that is Oeko-Tex certified, which basically means there are no harmful chemicals. The sheets genuinely feel so soft. They have this cotton-like softness, but definitely more affordable. They're also natural and they look lovely. They just have a lovely clean aesthetic as well. The material, as I mentioned, is Oeko-Tex certified. It's made out of 100% microfiber. It's just lovely and gentle on the skin. It's breathable and I absolutely love it. Sometimes the funny thing that you forget is the fact that your skin is touching this fabric for like 8 hours every single night. And so yeah, your bedding is just so important, and upgrading my own bedding has definitely like opened my eyes to literally how much it can affect you, and it's improved my sleep. But yeah, I will leave the link to check out Gakoda in the description box of this video. I would highly recommend it. And most definitely if you have been trying to improve your sleep, your bedtime routine, everything. Anyways, I don't have too many updates about the song Rising yet, because as I mentioned, today's reading session in the park was definitely more vibes, less reading, but I'm just still kind of like getting back into this world. I'm definitely gonna read more this evening and tonight, and I'll give you an update probably tomorrow morning. Good morning, friends. I am at around the 100-page mark in the song Rising, so we're getting more into the meat of the book. I definitely like the direction that this book is going in. I think Samantha Shannon has overall plotted all of the books in the series so far very well. I know when I read the Mime Order, that was the second book, I did mention at parts that it was kind of feeling like a second book syndrome type of a book, but I think in the end it did pull through. And now just like getting back into the story and seeing how everything has progressed since the first book, I think she's, yeah, just like split it out, plotted it very well, timed everything very well. Every book truly feels like it's had a different purpose, and they've all had a unique goal, but also an important goal that I can see will overall contribute to the large arc of the entire series. So yeah, I think that's really well done. The first book was definitely a big like world building book, a big introduction book, but also had a really intriguing plot going on. I think so far the first book is still the most interesting to me in terms of the plot and how it was executed. I really love the first book so much. The bone season, like it kind of caught me off guard. Like I don't know why I wasn't expecting much from it, but I absolutely love the first book so much. The second book was kind of like cleaning up the mess we made from the first book, because everything just like went to chaos at the end of the first book. And then this one, I find our main character Paige is starting to find herself more, like establish herself and like what roles she's going to take, and there's some self-discovery going on. Something else that I'm liking is that, how can I say this without spoiling? I'm gonna try and keep things as vague as I can, but I always feel it's kind of hard to talk about sequels and series without like giving away plot points, you know what I mean? But like just vaguely, I will say that our main character and her love interest are having a bit of a rift in this one, and I find usually when that happens in long series, like obviously it's going to happen because when you have such a long series, you know, characters are gonna have arguments along the way. It's not gonna be like perfect all the way through, but usually when it happens, I feel like the reasoning behind it can be frustrating and annoying and unnecessary and like doesn't make sense. But I think the way Samantha Shannon has done it in here, like it truly makes sense why they have this rift right now, and it's truly believable, and I I respect that. But yeah, this definitely feels like very similar to all the other books in the series. I still find it like kind of confusing, not confusing, but it's definitely still hard for me to keep all the names of things in my head, all the different terms, all the different types of magical people and the classes of them, and who's in charge of all of the hierarchies like in the syndicate. Like there's just so much to remember. It's one of those worlds where everything has multiple terms to describe the same thing, or like every character has multiple names and nicknames to describe them. So it just always for some reason takes so much brain power out of me to just like keep track of everything and everyone and where they are and what's going on. But that is the song Rising so far. So I did finish, hold on, where's my book? I did finish the song Rising last night. I'm kind of confused at this one because on one hand, I do enjoy these books, like I do like them, but I feel like they are no longer, how do I word this? I feel like this isn't going to be like a 5-star series. Like it's not going to be my favorite series of all time, but it is a series that I really like. Like I really like it, but I don't love it. And literally like the Bone Season, the first book in the series, is still my favorite. There was something about that book that I loved so much, and I feel like the sequels have not given me the same feeling. It might very well be because I just left too big of a gap in between reading the books, and without rereads, I feel like a lot of the details in this book and in this world just like slip your mind, so it could just be on me. And I just at this point feel very disconnected from the world. But the plot is so much fun. Like I love the plot, everything that's going on in the story. I am enjoying. The twists are twisting. I think Samantha Shannon has done a really good job with this series as a whole, but when I look at the individual books themselves, I feel like my opinion on them is just average. You know, my feeling from walking away from a single book in the series is usually around like the 3.5. I feel like this one was a 3.75 for me. So I did actually like a lot of parts in this book, and I do still really like the series as a whole, and I'm invested in it. But I don't know, like my enjoyment factor is a little muddled and mixed and confused. And I do think, I know I keep saying this, but I do think the biggest factor is just me, like my brain not being able to click with the terminology in this world, the names of all the characters, the hierarchies of all, you know, this complex syndicate structure, and who's on top and who's loyal to each other, and how everyone goes by like 3 different names. I do also think like most of the story is set in London, like in this futuristic dystopian type of a London, and we do get a lot of real world London references in here, like in terms of areas, like streets, neighborhoods. So maybe that's a part of it too. Like if you're more familiar with the layout of specific areas and regions in London, maybe it'd be easier to grasp like the expanse of this world. I don't know. Whenever I read these books, I feel like my brain is working overtime just trying to keep all of my words straight. And so because my brain is so preoccupied, I don't have the capacity to feel emotions and connections with the characters. I'm just purely reading for the plot and just barely keeping up. So that's where I'm at with this one. Will I continue the series? Absolutely yes. I do actually have the 4th book on my TBR, so I will continue to read it, and I'll most likely, you know, end up buying the 5th book after I finish the 4th book in the series as well. Like I'm still into it. I'm still invested. I'm just not 100% emotionally connected. Mentally I'm there. Emotionally, I'm not. I am actually really excited to see where the next book goes also, because the ending of this book went wild. Same with the 1st and 2nd book in the series. Samantha Shannon likes to end off with a lot of chaos. We also, without getting into spoiler territory, I'm going to keep it very vague in general, but it seems like we will be in a new environment in the 4th book. So I'm excited to kind of like get out of this London syndicate stuff. And like, I know it'll still be present. It'll always be a big part of these books, but I am excited to like experience a new environment and see what that is like and see how that feels within this world. So I am excited for the fourth one. So that was the song Rising. I did also last night just start Magnolia Parks Into the Dark. It is the latest book that is currently out. So after I read this, I will be up to date in the series. I read 30 pages of this last night, and let me tell you, I feel emotional about this already. Okay, you know my thoughts overall about the series, right? Like, I didn't really love the first Magnolia book, but I stuck with the series. I ended up really liking the Daisy Hates side of the series, and Magnolia has slowly been growing on me as I've been continuing to read the books. That being said, I did not completely forget what happened to Magnolia at the end of Long Way Home. If you're not familiar with the series, the previous Magnolia book before this one ended off on a very sad note. Let's just say that. And I didn't forget it, but I think because the Daisy book came after, like came between the Magnolia books, I think just like emotionally, I did not realize what we were walking into when I picked up this book. I just, for some reason, did not clue into my brain that this was where we were gonna walk into in Magnolia's headspace after this sad thing had just happened. So I don't think I was emotionally prepared to walk into this, but here we go. I am excited to read this one. This is the book that a lot of people say have changed their minds about Magnolia and BJ, so I'm ready to have my mind changed. Okay, time for our 100-page update for Magnolia Parks Into the Dark. So yeah, I did previously mention that this book starts on a more sad note, and I think overall the book is sticking with that theme. So this book, compared to the previous two Magnolia books, definitely feels less gossip girly, like just less gossipy in general, and it just takes a more serious tone. We're getting more into like the grief side of things, and I am enjoying, I mean, it's kind of weird saying enjoying, but I am just feeling more connected. Magnolia, she has definitely grown on me over the books, and it definitely took a long time, but I feel like I am at that point now where I genuinely care for her as a character. And because of certain things that she's gone through and because of certain ways I've seen her now, she seems more like a human to me, where one of my biggest complaints throughout the entire series was that Magnolia just felt like this goddess. She was untouchable, everyone was obsessed with her, and in this one she definitely feels a lot more human. You're seeing more of the vulnerability in her. Overall, I am loving reading about Magnolia in this one, which is definitely a first for me. Now over to BJ. I'm definitely liking him more in this one compared to previous books, which, you know, isn't saying much because he literally was the worst. I'm respecting him more in this one, but I don't know, I just feel like his personality shifted like overnight. So while I am appreciating him and respecting more in this one, I'm just unsure of the reasoning behind it, and I'm just unsure if it'll stick, and I'm unsure if I like him or not. Like, I'm still on the fence with BJ. I think if we had a more gradual growth with his character, I would have believed it more, but I think it just felt so abrupt to me from the last Magnolia book now to this book. He seems like a complete different character. I don't know if that is good writing for me personally. I just wish that we just saw more gradual, more natural growth in him. But yeah, overall, strong start. I definitely agree this is the best Magnolia book so far. I'm gonna continue reading this today, and we'll see how the rest of this book goes. But so far, so good. I've been convinced. This is definitely the first Magnolia book that I have truly, fully enjoyed. And I have to admit, I loved this book. I loved this one. It was definitely, I would say, my favorite in the series, which is definitely saying something because my entire experience of reading this series has basically been that I don't like the Magnolia books and I like the Daisy books. So the fact that this one has both of the Daisy books beat is saying a lot. It just felt so rewarding seeing Magnolia and BJ finally embrace their vulnerabilities, their humanity, and tackle all of their issues head on. Finally. Something else in particular that I really loved about this is that we explored a little bit deeper into the theme of what it's like to be in the spotlight, because this circle of friends, they are very well-known rich people in London, essentially. So they're always on the tabloids, they're always in the news. It's something else that we finally like fully faced and addressed in this book, and saw how that press and all the attention on them, how it truly affected them throughout this entire journey. And I love how they both had to fight for it in this book. I was mentioning it felt like Whiplash a little bit with BJ's character switch, especially at the beginning of this book, but the more I think about it, it does make sense. Like there was an event that triggered him to step more into this role and take it seriously and just realize there are bigger and more important things than, I don't know, being mean and petty to each other. And I do like that the both of them had to work on themselves and work on their relationship together, and we saw all of that in detail in this book. Now, this book is 700 pages long, okay? And to me, it did not feel like a 700-page book. It maybe felt like 500 pages because I feel like the entire way I was so invested. This book was definitely a page turner for me that it truly did not feel like 700 pages long. And I think honestly, a lot of that word count was dedicated towards just describing things. And I know I've seen some critique on the series as a whole, especially Magnolia's side of the series, where people get annoyed at how she describes every single outfit she sees and all of that, but I honestly think it adds to the vibe. Like it adds to the atmosphere of these books as a whole, because that is truly Magnolia's personality and we are in her brain. So it makes sense that she would think that way. I think overall I'm gonna rate this a 4.5, which I think is the highest I've rated any book in the series, but it wasn't a 5-star because, okay, this is kind of the sole reason. Jessa Hastings did use quite a bit of slang, like modern day slang in this book, and while if there was ever a book out there or ever a series out there to use current day, modern day slang, it would be these books because they are so embedded into today's society. But I feel like there was just too much. Like the amount of times BJ or other characters used the phrase, "you've lost the plot" in this book took me out. I did not like that. Every time I saw that phrase, and it happened a lot, I just got really frustrated and annoyed at that. There were also just things like cryptocurrency that were mentioned in this. I think a couple characters kept saying things like "you're cooked." Like just a lot of TikTok language, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that. And I did also, not to be nitpicky, but I did notice some spelling issues, typos, etc. in this book. So I think it could have used maybe another editing pass, and that would have also helped the repetition of the repeating phrases like "you've lost the plot." Maybe we could have found a few other ways to say that so it didn't feel so repetitive and jarring. But I loved it, okay? I'm glad that everyone convinced me to continue the series after I didn't love the first Magnolia book. I gave that one literally like a 2-star. It's been a rewarding experience. I'm now caught up in the series, but I need the Daisy side of the story is still kind of left on this cliff, and it's kind of hurting me a little that story is not out there and available to consume yet. Anyways, let's get our third book we're gonna read in this video. The next series I'm gonna continue is actually one that I've been putting off, and I need to get to it at this point. I've been putting it off for too long, but I'm gonna get into Jade War, finally. This is the second book in the Jade City series. Is the series called Jade City? Oh, yeah, it's called the Green Bone Saga. I read Jade City last August, actually. So it's been a really, really long time since I've read the first book, and I really, really loved the first book. But the reason I think that I've been putting off continuing the series for so long is that I did read this book at a very, very bad stage in my life. A time in my life where I was feeling really down, and I was kind of in my mind associating the series with how I was feeling at the time that I read the first book, which is, you know, that's not really a good thing, because Jade City was the book I picked up right like during that mass layoff that I was a part of in August, and that was the first time in like 8 years, I think, where I didn't have a job, and so I felt so insecure, so unstable emotionally. I just felt like there was no value in me. I was not worthy to anyone, to myself, and so I was in a really bad headspace when I picked up Jade City. But I loved the book. I truly loved the book. I think it was so well done. If you don't know what Jade City is, or the Greenbone Saga, we have this really cool world with a jade-based magic system. So people can harness jade to strengthen themselves and to use magical powers. Basically, in the main clan that we're following, you go to this magical academy, you train, and as you train, you learn how to control the jade, because it can also be very volatile if you don't know how to control that power. So you learn how to control the jade, and then essentially when you graduate, you can start wearing pieces of jade kind of semi-permanently. So we follow a couple of different families that are all involved in organized crime. Essentially, we have this urban environment. I think this world is actually based loosely in and around Hong Kong, I'm pretty sure, but it's like a completely fantastical version of it. But yeah, we follow these gang crime families as they navigate crime, politics, and magic. And there's also this drug going around that's kind of similar to the drug in the Six of Crows duology, where it can help you enhance your magical powers, but obviously has all these bad side effects. And so we have some people trying to, you know, spread this drug, sell it, and all of that. And then we have some families trying to prevent that from happening because it's going to make the world fall apart, essentially. Lots of politics, lots of tension between families. I really, really loved the character development in Jade City. So we're gonna get into this. This seems kind of like a thick book as well. How many pages is this? It's around 600 pages. So we have another long book to read, but I'm excited to get back into this world. That being said though, because it's been so long since I've read the first book, I do feel like I need to refresh myself before jumping back into this one, especially because we do follow quite a few families, quite a few characters. So I'm actually gonna try and find like a spoiler summary of Jade City so I can read it and hopefully refresh my mind on like character names and specifics that I've forgotten over the past year. And then I'm gonna dive into this one. Why did I literally forget how good this series is? So it's actually a couple days later. I did take the weekend kind of off filming. So I've just been reading this book for the past 2 days. I'm actually quite a ways into it. I think I'm at around, hold on, I'll check the page number. I'm at page 362. I've just been so immersed in this world. I remembered really, really loving Jade City, the first book, but I think because I was in that bad headspace, I kind of just like detached from it emotionally after I read it and like literally forgot how good, literally forgot how much I enjoyed the first book. So I'm just like fully back into this world. It is a very highly political story. When I was reading Jade City, I was making comparisons to Six of Crows just because the worlds seem somewhat similar, but there is definitely a really, really big difference in the stories. Six of Crows, while still, you know, political, focuses more on a single heist, wherein the Greenbone Saga, these books are more about political tensions, like really, really just exploring deep into the politics and the clashing of these different clans and also political forces coming from outside of our country as well. There are so many moving pieces in this world and everyone is all kind of like hanging on with this really delicate, fragile balance. Like if one clan or one side of the scale tips, everything will go to chaos. And that's just creating this amazing tension all the way throughout this book that's keeping it exciting, because with books that are just all about politics, sometimes I do feel they can feel like they're moving a little bit slow or they can feel a little bit dry. But I think because of all of the tension in this book, it doesn't feel boring or dry to me. I also really love all the POVs that we follow in this book. Some of the characters we definitely love more than others, and that is definitely done on purpose. There are certain characters that aggravate me to no end, but everyone feels realistic, everyone has their flaws, everyone has their strengths, and you see this diverse cast of characters and how they make decisions and what their values are and like all their warring conflicts within them as well. I feel like some of the characters in this book are on the verge of being stereotypical characters. Like you could read on on surface level about one of these characters and you'd be like, oh yeah, he's just like the tough warrior guy with a short temper. Like that is his trope. But when you read more about him, you see there's so much more going on inside of him that like really deep down to his soul, he is actually not that strong warrior character with a short temper that everyone perceives him to be. There's so much more going on. And all of the characters in this book really surprised me in a lot of ways. So I really love that. And I think because we're following so many different pieces, the story is unpredictable. It's not following the same path as, you know, all of the other fantasies out there. There's definitely a lot of uniqueness in it. It's definitely very unpredictable, and I'm just thoroughly loving it so much. There's also a little tiny little bit of romance in this book, like a tiny bit. But the little that is there was very strong. And yeah, I don't know, I'm just loving this. I'm so invested. Like, I'm so worried for everyone. I think I would say the one flaw I see in this book as of right now is the timeline is a little bit weird. And I think because of the gigantic story that Fonda has to tell in these books, a lot of these political things take time, you know, but I feel like parts in the timeline are a little bit weird where I will be so in the moment, like invested in what's going on at that certain time with that certain character, and then I'll flip to the next page and it'll be like 3 months later and I'll be like, whoa, what happened? I want to go back to that moment that we were just in. So there are a few things like that that kind of like jolt me out of it a little bit, but I do also see why those time jumps are necessary just to be able to tell this story without it being an even longer book than it is. It is Monday, so I do have some work to do this morning, but I do want to spend like literally just most of today reading this, to be honest. Okay, something that I did not forget about Fonda is that she is not afraid to kill off a character, which is something I really highly respect in a fantasy author. Oh my goodness, was the end of this book traumatic. For the entire book, you were so hyper-focused on the politics, on the scheming, all of these things, and just tracking how all the pieces fit together, that when the personal stuff happens, the emotional stuff, the trauma, it really catches you off guard. And yeah, that was a roller coaster at the end there. I loved this. It was so good. Absolutely did not feel like second book syndrome. If you love a fantasy that is mostly scheming, mostly fantasy politics, definitely check this one out. Fonda does an amazing job with that. There is a little bit of action in this book, but I would say for the most part, we're dealing with scheming, making bargains, who to trust and who not to trust, and all of that. So that is Jade War. I'm gonna give it a 4.25. I think it was so good. Again, I think my biggest issue was really just a few weird moments in the timeline where we had these big time jumps and I was like, whoa, like kind of felt displaced in those moments. But I honestly don't know how that could have been changed to be better. So that's why I'm not an author. That's why I'm not an editor. I'm just a reader. While we're here, let us just update the series tracker. Okay, here we are. So our current series count is 24. It is gonna go up, unfortunately, this month because I do have a couple starts to series that I pulled from my July TBR. So the number is gonna go up. But what have we done? Okay, the Bone season, I did read the song Rising. So the next book, it's on my TBR over there. It's called The Mask Falling. I am still ready to continue because I have the 4th book ready to go. So out of 5 books out, I have read 3 so far. We then read Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. So the next book is TBD. We don't know the name of it yet. I have read 5 and this one is up to date. And then we just read Jade War. So where? Oh, it's right at the top. Couldn't see it. Next book to read. Why did I write Jade City? That's wrong. But anyways, the next one is actually Jade Legacy. I've read 2 out of 3 books, and you know what? I'm actually ready to continue the next one because I broke my book buying ban. oops, and I did immediately purchase Jade Legacy. So in our next finishing series video, there's a high chance we'll be finishing this series. But that being said, I am going to leave you guys here for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what series you are actually excited to start next. I would like to thank Akoda again for sponsoring a portion of today's video, so definitely remember to go check them out. Link is in the description box below. But all that being said, if you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!